Thank you. Thank you for having me. And I apologize in the beginning for speaking in English. Just my Spanish isn't that good yet. As introduced, I'm a principal engineer. I have like 20 years of experience in web development. Most of it is in WordPress, so 15 years in WordPress ecosystem. I like to share my learnings and talk about standards and debugging, performance testing, and recently AI in development. I worked at a few agencies you might know, like XWB, Human Made, and on projects for many enterprise publishing clients, banks, and universities. Contributed to some open source projects, including the WordPress core, WordPress coding standards, Stream, and a bunch of other open source plugins. I'm in no way an accessibility expert. I'm just a developer, and I appreciate building accessible and inclusive interfaces. And to start, we don't need PhD level to be using AI in our website. So I'll introduce you some simple and straightforward solutions to include AI in your workflows. We'll talk about a few things today. Quick brief on the AI journey, how it started and where we got here today. And inclusivity, how it's a culture for everyone. What challenges we have when we try to build inclusive interfaces. And we'll take a look about the AI tools in the WordPress ecosystem and how we can choose what fits us more. And then we'll zoom in on a few specific use cases and practical implementations that we can use. And we'll end up with a quick recipe on how we can start our AI journey right now. Let's start with how we got here, hopefully a quick brief. It started with the Big Bang. Alan Turing thought, can machines think? That's in 1950s. Then a bunch of scientists got together, spent 8 weeks at Dartmouth, and that's where they coined the term AI and started the AI Science Fair. Then, since then, nothing happened. That's what was called the first AI winter, because nobody understood what needs to happen or how to start it, until the 80s, where the rise of expert systems in specific fields like medical and financial systems started. Just a glorified chains of if and while loops to accomplish certain tasks. They discovered data can help, so they started to teach machines to analyze big amounts of data, predict patterns, and help the decision-making processes, marking the start of the machine learning era. Because of how difficult it was to apply these concepts in practice, another AI winter prevailed until the beginning of the century, 2010. And that's where they learned that systems can learn how to learn on their own. And that's what we call deep learning evolution. 10 years later, and that's where the evolution of AI started, and we started seeing the generative AI and LLMs models, and that's where everyone started to learn about it and use it in their everyday life. What's next? We have what we call the AGI, or systems building other systems. What we call the autonomous machines building their own systems too. And that can go both ways. It can go like us, each one having a Jarvis-like assistant that can do everything for them, cook, clean, and do everything. Or can turn into the Terminator-like future that we have. So we'll see. On that, if anyone likes to read about sci-fi or this genre, there's a site called AI 2027. It tries to take you through a thrilling journey on how AI would develop and evolve in the next 2 years. It actually uses real-world events right now and real technical white papers to tell the story of what could happen. So that would be a really nice read if you're into it. So let's go to the point. we'll talk about inclusivity. I come from a third world country. The term inclusivity isn't used much there yet. People typically have more pressing issues and survival pressures to think about how to include people with disabilities or accommodate for different cultures or backgrounds. But once you start building websites, you need to think about different personas, different cultures, backgrounds, how you can make your website inclusive and accessible to every user and visitor from across the world. And with the recent laws and legislations, it's not even an option anymore. It's often a requirement. To understand the importance of inclusivity, you often have to experience it yourself to understand the impact of feeling excluded or not accounted for. Everybody can be a minority somewhere at some point. Travel to a different country, worked with a remote team from different parts of the world, language barriers, cultural barriers, disability barriers. At any time, at any point of time, you can be different in how you talk, how you behave, how you learn, or how you understand. But how easy it is for us as web developers to make our sites or products more accessible. Let me introduce you to Maria. She's a sole developer working for a nonprofit and small businesses. She's friendly, she likes everyone, and she wishes everyone can enjoy her sites and applications. But often she has a few challenges, and we will list some of those. The first one is time and budget. Accessibility reviews and fixes are typically manual processes, expensive and hard to scale. In many environments, accessibility is treated as a nice to have, rather than a core requirement, like security or performance. When a project timelines are tight and budgets are squeezed, it's often the first thing to go away or to be cut. Her constant challenge is reframing accessibility not as a cost or a legal concern, but as a practice that expands market reach and improves overall user experiences for everyone. The second challenge is knowledge. Accessibility often requires specialists to understand the standards on tools or to have a diverse team that understands different perspectives. Maria tried to use a screen reader herself for the first time and became frustrated, not knowing if that's her own inexperience using the tool or her code that's making it difficult. The third challenge is culture. Even when she delivers a perfectly constructed and accessible house with solid technical foundation, the accessibility of that house is compromised the moment the owner starts furnishing that house. Day-to-day content creation is where these well-intentioned efforts often break down. The core of this issue is a fundamental misunderstanding. Clients often perceive accessibility as a one-time technical setup or a checkbox that the developer installs, rather than an ongoing content strategy and shared responsibility. That's why integrating AI tooling right within the editorial experience and workflows can empower site owners to keep their site accessible and inclusive as they add or update content with real-time content reviews and automated accessibility checks. Our mission today is to empower Maria with AI powers to make her job easier, developing more accessible and inclusive web experiences, and to help her empower her clients as well to keep their sites inclusive and accessible by leveraging the tools and editorial experiences that keeps the client aligned. So our mission today is to empower Maria and her clients to keep their sites accessible and inclusive all the way after the initial setup as well. And we'll see solutions how to do that. So let's examine what AI tools exist in the WordPress ecosystem that we can leverage. We have three main categories. First, turnkey commercial solutions, plugins that you can install in a few minutes and get a few accessibility features right out of the box. They offer turnkey compliance solutions. They often leverage AI to scan the site for accessibility and or remediate issues using AI features. Try these when you need a lower barrier of entry to accessibility, comprehensive catch-all solutions, and to evaluate your site's compliance to to accessibility rules. Next are hybrid solutions, plugins that come out of the box with some features that you can leverage, and then you can build on top of them to even add more inclusive and accessibility features. The third one is DIY, libraries and plugins that doesn't come with tangible features, but provide the foundation to build on top of them and use AI to build your own features. Use these when you need full control over your features and you know what you want to build and want a quick boilerplate to get started. Let's examine some examples from these. And this is just my experience. Those plugins are not the top or the best, just some of what I've tried myself. The first one is Accessibility plugin. That provides many features, starting with accessibility widgets that augment your site with a bunch of features and real-time customizations that users can control and activate as they please. Plus a framework for content remediation tools like alt tag generation and live accessibility checks. And I think many of the audience would know that one already. The next one, a very similar plugin called All-in-One Accessibility, which has a free version that includes the basic accessibility widget and features, but also a paid version that leverages AI to provide even more features like voice navigation, sign language representation, and live translation, along with tutorial tools like content remediation, alt tag generation, accessibility checks and scoring, and so more. There are so many other plugins that can provide similar services and features, so I won't go through the full list. Some of the existing plugins you might already be using started introducing some accessibility checks as well, like Yoast SEO, for example, now has an inclusivity scoring feature that you can use, and probably more that I didn't examine yet. Next up is the hybrid solutions, of which I've tried Classify, a plugin by TNAP company that provides a bunch of AI features out of the box, like content classification, adjustment, image and audio generation, and Smart 404 pages. The most interesting feature of that plugin is that it's built for extensibility. So developers can leverage the foundation and introduce even more features to the base framework. It's a free open source plugin. So you bring your own AI API key from whatever provider you want, if you're using Google Gemini or OpenAI or whatever. Lastly, in the DIY category, I've tried the following two frameworks or libraries. First, AI Services by Felix Ans, a core contributor and part of the WordPress AI team. The library provides a provider-agnostic framework to communicate with LLM models. So you can use it to talk to OpenAI models, Google Gemini models, and open source module, whatever provider you like. It can be used both in PHP on the back end or using JavaScript on the front end as well. It has support for multimodality, so you can generate text, images, and use simple API calls by the abstraction letter. And we'll see how that works. That's how easy it is to integrate an AI service in your workflows. Just a one-liner. You ask the model something, and you include your context like post content or title, and you get the response, and then you can use it. It's not as daunting as you might think. And that's how you can use it in PHP or JavaScript too. Next is a new WordPress AI team AI client, a new library client developed to unify AI APIs across WordPress tools and plugins. It uses the AI Services plugin we just mentioned as a reference implementation. Felix is also on the same team, but provides different APIs, yet similar in simplicity and abstraction. And that, again, one-liner to use a specific model and ask a question and get the text to use in your workflow. So many solutions, so many tools, frameworks, and options. Each has their own pros and cons. And your job is to evaluate the trade-offs, try out solutions, and stick with what works. For example, commercial solutions can be pricey, but they have low setup time, low maintenance. On the offside, they have lower flexibility and customization options. Hybrid solutions get you off the ground quickly, use pay-as-you-go API keys, so you bring your own keys, and you manage your billing yourself, and are easy to maintain. They're also highly flexible and customizable, as you can build on top of them to introduce new features. Lastly, DIY solutions give you ultimate flexibility and a quick API abstraction layer to get you custom features started quickly, but you still need to maintain them, so they are time-consuming to set up and maintain in the future. So the advice is start small, try out the commercial solutions, use trials. You typically don't have to pay to try them out. Then experiment with hybrid solutions, try building something out of them. They can take you halfway, and then explore augmenting your own sites and workflows with AI features with DI libraries. You've seen how easy it can be. Let's review some challenges and practical AI solutions and applications. We'll start with cultural diversity. Imagine you're operating across different regions or countries that speak the same language but with different dialects, locales, or cultures. Hence Spain with the different languages. But not only that, in my part of the world, Arab countries often have drastically different cultures and locales as well. Sometimes I struggle to understand Arabic from Tunisia or Algeria or Morocco, similar to how it happens here between different Spain regions. The problem here is how you account for those cultural and linguistic diversity without a diverse localization team. Solution, let's experiment how we can use AI to do that. AI models are often trained on diverse content, different languages and locales and dialects, so you can use it to optimize your content towards a specific audience profile. The magic isn't just using AI though, it's how you ask it. Instead of asking it to translate to Spanish, try a stronger prompt like adapt this text for a professional audience in Mexico, use local terminology where possible, and adjust for cultural references. That drastically improves the quality of the output you get. That's a simple translate into Spanish prompt, and that's the basic output of the LLM. And that's when we use the sophisticated prompt and specify the cultural references, goals, and so on, and provide a more nuanced output there. So it's how we talk it that makes all the difference. Next is the format flexibility. Most sites receive visitors that might have different disabilities or neurodiversity needs, so we need to provide our content in multiple formats, text, audio, and maybe even in sign language as well. But producing these formats, especially for content-based sites with ever-growing library of content, can be very tedious and costly. That's where AI can excel. With quick and easy workflows to generate audio, video, and even sign language representation of different content, you provide the content and AI automates the conversion for you. For this example, we will use Classify plugin to enable TTS generation, text-to-speech generation for content. Whenever a post is published or updated, the plugin will automatically generate an audio version for it. You can activate the feature in the settings and provide you API keys, and then within the editor interface, you can enable audio generation. The plugin will automatically call the LLM, generate the audio version, and display it on the front end of your site. Simple and straightforward with just the cost of using LLM. The plugin also includes an automated excerpt generation based on the custom prompt you can customize. So instead of the lexical excerpts you have, the cuts down content just uses the first few words of content. You get an actual legitimate and meaningful summary of your content that can be used for accessibility, but also improves the SEO given the relevancy of the excerpt generation. The third challenge is the scarcity of time and resources. Assuming you're committed to making your site accessible and inclusive and/or have a legal obligation to do so, but you don't have enough time to experiment with it. Manual accessibility testing can be very slow and often requires deep expertise, and the time to implement the basic accessibility features can take away resources from advanced accessibility and inclusivity features that you can integrate. A few plugins and services, as we illustrated earlier, can help with automated compliance and AI accessibility checks that can get you half the way or even more. Accessibility, for example, provides an AI accessibility checker that can do a good job surfacing most of the issues on your site. And not only that, similar plugins include an accessibility widget or overlay that can help you with automated compliance out of the box with no setup required, which features like font, color, and motion adjustment that visitors can adjust to fit their needs. This is a screenshot of the overlay widget when you install the all-in-one accessibility plugin. You can adjust the font, the blind weight, the letter spacing, and so many features that the user himself, the visitor, can use to customize his experience. But there is a catch. We still need to acknowledge that automation and AI can only get us so far. AI is a tool, it's a companion, it's not a replacement. We still need to have the culture and intention to make our sites accessible and inclusive, from the design phase and throughout the content creation process. Such tools can check a lot of boxes, but human checks and testing is still needed to ensure the real-time experiences is on par with expectations and commitment. The last but not least challenge is the unconscious bias, where the everyday language we use can be offensive to different profiles of people. But with the lack of proper inclusive environments and diverse teams, this non-inclusive language can go unnoticed, but eventually offend some of the visitors, be it gendered words, ableist phrases, or culturally offensive idioms. The problem here is that manual reviews of content against all kinds of bias is tedious and time-consuming and often difficult. And educating all editors against all biases, while important and critical, is not guaranteed to safeguard against use of this biased language every day. AI can be very helpful in that case, as it can quickly scan the content and outline all the different kinds of biases that it includes. I'll also suggest replacements with inclusive alternatives. We can use custom prompts to mimic the organization style or tonality too for even more coherent representation of the organization or business. For the purpose of that one, I built a couple of solutions myself using the hybrid and DIY libraries to understand how it can be used there. So the first one is using Classify. I built a bias detection extension using Classify plugin, and it's built as a step-by-step tutorial to add even more features. So it's an educative experience too. And here is a quick demo of how it works in a few seconds. I start typing, I save my post, and I click on the plugin icon. Ignore that. I check for bias, and it takes the post content, submits it to LLM, and then gets back the result of scan. It tells me that there is an age, there is a phrase that has an age bias. It tells me what the phrase is and what the alternative is to. That's how simple it can be, and I built it in like a couple of hours using AI tool. So AI, building AI tools. Then I started trying the DIY solutions, including the AI services plugin. I built the same feature using AI, but in a more sophisticated pattern. And that's a quick demo also of how it works. This is a bit bigger content, so to understand how it can deal with that. Once it goes to LLM and gets back the results, it will highlight all the issues in the content that has bias issues. And once you hover over them, it will tell you what the bias is and what the suggestion is and why that statement is offensive to some people. So after that, what's next? You can follow the plan, as we said, pick one turnkey solutions, try it out, and expand further, try to build something on top of it, and then experiment with DIY and try to build these AI features on your plan. And remember, AI makes mistakes. Human side is non-negotiable. Always review the outputs and try different models and providers and share with the community what you built in the end. That's it. Thank you.